Hello, my spooky little pumpkin pies. Welcome to this unboxing video of the Halloween Tarot. I've been waiting to open this deck for a year now because I actually got it last Halloween or in anticipation of last Halloween. So maybe I purchased it in September and was very excited about opening it, doing an unboxing and getting to grips with it and working with it for my client readings that I do. But I was just very, very busy at the end of Self-Love September, and then October, immediately I go into my Samhain and Halloween readings as soon as October starts. So basically I just didn't get the time, and I felt towards the end of the second week, beginning of the third week of October, this is not enough time for me to really let myself get to grips with this deck and use it sufficiently for client readings. So I decided to hold off until an entire year had passed. So this has been a year in the making. I'm very excited. I'm going to open up this bottle of St. Austell Cornish IPA. It's called Proper Job, which is very appropriate because that is what they say in Cornwall. They say proper job, baby. So yeah, it's just it's a saying that they have in Cornwall. I found it to be very funny, so I looked it up, and apparently the bottled version is vegan, so happy days, and away we go. There we go. I've put a little bit more light on the subject now. I felt like it was looking a little bit dingy in here. So I'm going to go ahead and unbox this. I'm super excited, guys. I've been wanting to play with this now for so long. It looks amazing. It looks really cute. The suit names and the whole theme of the deck and everything looks really adorable. So I actually got this because a client of mine suggested it to me and showed me some of the cards that she was enjoying, and yeah, we were doing some tarot chat sessions together. If you want to know more, by the way, about my tarot chat sessions, it's kind of intuitive, chatty, self-developmental tarot mentoring. You can click down below and I will leave the options there for you if you want to learn tarot with me and deepen into your deck with me. But anyway, I was having some sessions with her and she was using her Halloween tarot, and I just thought it looks so stupendous. I need it. So the fact that it's just been sat there in its plastic for a year now is just, it's actually quite surreal that I'm finally getting to open it. Okay, so some information for you. This is a US Game Systems deck. It is a standard 78 card tarot deck that includes a little white book. On the side of the deck it says, the festive old-time Halloween world of Kipling West conjures up all that's fun about Halloween. Let the black cat guide you on a trick-or-treat mission to find out what is lurking around the next corner in your world. I love the use of words there. And on the other side, where it says the Halloween tarot, it says the 78 card deck features many spooky characters, and the minor arcana suits are pumpkins, bats, ghosts, and imps. Now, some people find that it's really comfortable to slip into calling the four suits by different names, and they find it really comfortable to easily switch when the four suits are renamed. I'm okay with it. Sometimes it takes me a little bit of an adjustment. It depends how strongly I agree with the way the suits have been renamed. So if I feel like the renaming of the suit of wands is not appropriate for the suit of wands, or I feel like I would have done the renamings differently, it can take me a while to get on board, and it can take me a while to get my head in the game. So hopefully pumpkins are pentacles, because that makes sense to me. Ghosts would maybe be cups, I think. Bats would be wands? I don't know. And imps would be swords? I'm not sure. Pumpkins should definitely be pentacles though. Like I'm really clear on that. I think that is what should be happening. But we will see. The renaming of the four suits in tarot is something that I find really interesting. It's something that can definitely excite me and keep my impressions of the cards fresh. But on the other hand, at the same time, it can get fiddly, as I said, if I don't agree with the way that they've been renamed and it doesn't really sit right with me. The front of the little white book is very, very cute. That's really adorable. So I'm going to go ahead and carefully use my scissors to get into this deck, which is by Karen Lee, and the art is by Kipling West, guys. See if I can just, there we go, get in along the top. You can tell I've done this before. This is not my first rodeo, as they say. Okay, so I'm into the plastic, darlings. We've got the little title card there, the Halloween tarot. The card backing, absolutely gorgeous. Can't say fairer than that. That's going to look absolutely amazing on my Samhain and Halloween tarot reading table. So very excited to actually sort of just see the backings of the cards and be shuffling them. That is very, very Halloween and Samhain ready, isn't it? That backing is approved. So let's have a little look. Behind the title card, there is a little bit more information about the deck. It says here, sometimes our lives seem shadowy and it's hard to tell what's around the next corner, much like Halloween night when what is imagined is probably much scarier than what is really going on. Whatever the season, jump into the festive, if slightly freakish, old-time Halloween world of Kipling West and let the tarot cards help you take a closer look at what may be lurking in the shadows of your life. The Halloween tarot deck is divided into 22 cards of the major arcana and 56 cards of the minor. And then here it says, pumpkins are the suit of pentacles, bats are swords, ghosts are cups, and imps are wands. Okay, cool. That seems fair enough. So just a little bit of adjustment in my brain that needs to happen. Let me know down below, guys, how comfortable you are with the renaming of the 4 suits. Do you find it to be interesting? Do you find that it really gives something to your practice? Or do you find that it's quite fiddly to get into what the different suits are? And if you work with multiple decks, I'm presuming it presents more of a problem because you've got all of these different renamings. Sometimes it's quite hard to keep them in your brain. So let me know how you get on with the renaming of the 4 suits, and how often have you felt as though the renamings were not really that great and you didn't really enjoy them, versus how often do you find that they're really a sort of nourishing extra. Let me do you the courtesy, my darlings, of going through the little white book for you, even though, as many of you guys know, I'm not really a little white book kind of a girl. I don't always go through the little white book. I do keep all of my little white books banded together with an elastic band in a certain part of my tarot shelves. And if you want to look at my card slinging tarot corner tour, by the way, I have done a video where I take you guys around where I keep my decks, where I do my readings, all of that good shiz. So if you want to check that out, I will leave that down below in the description bar. You can have a look at that video. So yeah, I do have a place where I keep all of my little white books together. As I mentioned, the front cover of this one is very cute. So let's get into it. Okay. So it's got here, welcome to Halloween, and quite a long description, 3 little pages of description here from Kipling West, who is the artist. And then there is another quite big piece of description. So wait a minute. First of all, you've got welcome to Halloween. So this is about Halloween. It's about what the artist thinks of Halloween, and I'm assuming what kind of informed Kipling West's work. It's really awesome, actually. It sort of talks about Samhain and how it morphed into Halloween, it looks like, so that's great. And then it talks specifically about the creation of the Halloween tarot deck, so quite a lot of information on that as well. And then it's got quite a long bit about reading the cards. So, and there are some sample layouts here, 3 card spreads, the ancient Celtic cross method. A little bit disappointing that they didn't do anything a little bit more festive there. I mean, 3 card spreads, it says here, past, present, future, dilemma, choice 1 and choice 2, hope, fear and depression. I feel like you could have done something so much more seasonal with that. So that's a bit of a shame. And then just the basic, well, they're calling it the ancient Celtic method, but they mean the Celtic cross method. I think it's quite inaccurate to call it ancient, but I'm not going to split hairs. But again, couldn't we have had something festive? I mean, if any of you guys have ever purchased one of my Samhain or Halloween readings, you will know that I'm very up on the festive spread designs. I love them. I think they really give something to the spirit of the season to actually create spreads that are related to the Halloween and Samhain themes. So I think they really missed a trick there, unfortunately. And then, as usual with little white books, you've got a few lines of description, just 1 or 2 sentences with some keywords. But it appears that they have really connected with the themes, the Halloween themes that are described in the cards. So with the lovers, it says, can a vampiric visitor corrupt true love? And then with the chariot, it's a hearse. It says brackets hearse. So I'm assuming there's a hearse in the image. And it says literally being in the driver's seat, control, self-discipline. Okay, the hermit is the mad scientist, a solitary search for truth. The Hierophant is the mummy, being bound by the outer trappings of religion and societal expectations. So there's obviously some Halloween themes coming through very strongly in the deck, and those are mentioned. The moon is the werewolf, the star is a gargoyle, so this definitely will be exciting. Oh, the intro for the minor arcana is a trick-or-treat situation happening where a witch is handing a bag of sweets to a little kid dressed up in a black cat onesie. So can't really complain. It is all very seasonal and very cute looking, and you've got your little illustrations for each of the 4 suits as well. So quite a cute little white book for those among you who enjoy the little white book or refer to the little white book. Strong playing card stock, I would say, guys. Basically flimsy, but not the flimsiest you could get. Typical of US games, basically. Okay, so now I'm going to go through and allow myself to have a little look at the cards and sort of do some musings, essentially, and talk about what I like, what I'm not sure about. Just for any of you who have not seen an unboxing video from me before, this is not a walkthrough. I'm not going to be showing you every single card. I'm not going to be going into detail on everything. I'm basically going to just mention the cards that grip me or that I find that I do want to talk about. And if you want a walkthrough of the entire Halloween tarot, I'm sure there's at least one person on YouTube who's done one, but that isn't really the purpose of my unboxings. It's just basically to record my initial impressions and to give you guys a taste of what I think upon first opening the deck. So, having said that, I'm going to go ahead and start talking, browsing and flicking through and talking. Oh, the other thing I need to mention is that there are cutaways of the cards that I'm talking about, so it's not a particularly good video to watch if you want to do the washing up or be focused on something else. You're going to have to be looking at the screen because I'm going to be doing cutaways. And the first cutaway I'm going to be doing is of the Fool card, because I definitely have some things to say on this. We've got a clown for the Fool card, which seems completely appropriate. The dog has been replaced by a black cat, very seasonal, very appropriate. I really enjoy this blue-black star-studded sky. That's really awesome. And I like the fact that we are looking at the moon and this is a nighttime scene. And the moon is sort of very enthusiastically looking at what the Fool is doing. The moon is actually interested in what the Fool is doing, which I think is really awesome. It's really interesting. The Fool is juggling, which I find a very interesting thing. And there is definitely something to be said for the symbolism that you could see in juggling, you know, sort of gambling, risk, learning new skills, sort of getting better at something that's difficult, that kind of thing. But there's also that very strong clown association, and that sort of links in with the Fool as a fool in a way, somebody to laugh at, somebody maybe naive or ridiculous. So there's all of those kind of associations in there. One thing that I really like is that the Fool is holding on to one of the juggling balls that appears to have some sort of flower in it. It's not necessarily a lotus flower, but it could be. It's a really beautiful ball that just seems to have this flower growing inside of it. Now, I really like that. I must say, it doesn't say anything about it in the little white book. It just says a clown juggles happily, oblivious to the precipice before him. Playful, childlike innocence, pure potential, freedom from preconception, gaining wisdom through experience. So I suppose in a way, the juggling is part of that gaining wisdom through experience, but it doesn't really say anything about that beautiful flower, and that really struck me. The other thing that struck me is the polarity of the creepy pumpkin faces on one side of the outfit and then the black cats on the other side of the outfit. I really like that idea of different things coming together. And the other thing that I really like is there appears to be a doctor's bag in the background with the symbol for poison on it, and I think that is quite sinister and quite freaky deaky and quite seasonally appropriate, and it lends a layer of symbolism to the Fool card in this deck that I really enjoy. I really love the High Priestess. She's amazing. She's got very much a sort of worst witch kind of vibe to her. I really love her pose. I love the fact that she's holding on to her Book of Shadows or her grimoire. I love the fact that she's got this beautiful long red dress on, and there is a bat dangling from her little finger, which is essentially just awesome. I really enjoy the tendrils of ivy growing up the walls behind her. You've got these two gorgeous turrets behind her, and I really like the fact that she's standing on the crescent moon. There's something very witchy, very, very magical about the High Priestess in this deck, so definitely gorgeous. And oh my goddess, the Empress is looking amazing. Now, the Empress is supposed to be a tribute to a woman in a film, and I just can't think of the film and I can't think of the actress, but I strongly recognize the kind of iconography that's going on here, and it's really annoying me that it's just going out of my head right now. Oh, okay, so in the little white book it says Bride of Frankenstein, so I'm assuming that's what I'm thinking of. It's the hair from the actress in the film Bride of Frankenstein, I guess, maybe. If I'm wrong, I will put it in the I'll put it in the down bar. But it says here, Bride of Frankenstein, a twist on the traditional Earth Mother, abundance and fertility of the mind, body, and spirit, motherhood, nurturing, compassion. So yeah, it's basically Bride of Frankenstein hair. I have to mention the Hierophant as a mummy. That is just really interesting and different. And you've got these two sort of alien-like looking green Sphinx cats that are sat at the foot of the mummy, actually playing with a little bit of the paper or cloth or whatever that's kind of coming away from the mummy. That's really funny. I really like that. There's something very entertaining and very playful about this card, and it's just a very different way of envisioning the Hierophant, and I think that the associations therefore with the Hierophant will be very different for me with this deck, which I'm looking forward to getting into a bit more. You do have a vampire jumping through the window into the room of a woman who is clutching love letters to her heart. She's got a love letter with a picture, and she has got sort of some mementos on her dresser and a candle burning. You can tell that she's just having this beautiful, romantic, maybe nostalgic or sentimental time to herself, and this vampire is rudely interrupting with his sexy looking medallion and very swish looking suit and cape. So this is a very cool card. And I very much like the print on the tapestry of the big curtain in the front that's framing the card. You've got there some really lovely vines, flowers and bats on the curtain. So that's really interesting, and again a very different way of working with the energy and the themes of the lovers. I like the Hermit as the mad scientist. I do. I like the workstation that he's got set up. I like the fact that he's got something there in the test tube glass that's bubbling and fizzing and all green. It's quite exciting. I like the fact that he's got a hand stuck in his lab coat. That's really creepy and cool. I like the fact that there is a little sort of note paper stuck to the wall that shows that he wants to put a human brain into a pumpkin. So he's obviously got some really mischievous things that he wants to cook up for Halloween, which is awesome. You've got what I can only assume is one of his test rats, one of his white lab rats, trying to engage with the black cat in the bottom corner, which is cool, and a frog sat on the windowsill watching all of this mad scientist action rolling out and obviously being very into it. The only thing I would say that I think is a shame about the Hermit is the way that the actual figure of the mad scientist has been drawn. He looks a bit gormless and odd, and almost not, he doesn't have actually the detail and the sharpness of the features that are in the other figures in this deck so far, which is a shame. He actually looks more, he looks crudely drawn, like a badly drawn cartoon. And I feel like you could have gone for more of the classic mad scientist look with the, you know, kind of Doc from Back to the Future kind of hair. And I don't know, he could have looked so much more enthusiastic and so much more present, rather than this very sort of gormless look as though he is kind of a bit absent. And he just doesn't look well drawn, which I think is the only thing that I would say is a shame. Wheel of Fortune in this deck is amazing. I really love this spinning wheel with the knives, you know, it's a knife board kind of wheel, whatever it's called, I can't remember. You have there on the wheel the astrological signs, and I've noticed that it's actually an elephant spinning the wheel, which has an unfortunate circus vibe to it, which I'm not that into the circus vibe, being that I'm a vegan, and it kind of brings up some shitty associations. I mean, in fact, it brings up shitty associations for you, even if you're not vegan, since you might not necessarily be vegan, but you might not like the ethics of circus, you know, the use of circus animals. So for me, anything to do with the circus can be a bit of a bummer, but I'll let it go anyway. I'll kind of take it as an opportunity to think about the symbolism of the elephant. And you've got the black cat down in the corner and a little mouse that's kind of prodding the elephant's toes. So very cutesy, but I also like very much the symbol of the knife throwing wheel. And the idea that there are the astrological signs there. I really like the worried look on this person's face. I think that it's definitely an interesting way to interpret Wheel of Fortune for sure. The Hanged Man is a scarecrow in the Halloween deck, which I think is very seasonally appropriate, very nice. I like the red scarf kind of blowing in the wind there. And you've got what looks like a very optimistic, quite sort of self-contained, content Hanged Man there. What I find really cool is that the scarecrows are not afraid. The Hanged Man has almost given up his position, his role as the scarer of the crows, and has adopted instead this meditative position, and the crows are just coming along and sitting right on the tree, and they're not in any way afraid, which you could take as a shadow aspect or a light aspect. You could say that he's evolved beyond being a figure of fear. and he's gone on to a higher purpose, he's living by a higher code. Or you could say that in fact he is not fulfilling his purpose in life, and the crows are the proof of that, because he's not scaring them away. So it depends where you want to go with that. I think there are definitely some light and shadow aspects that could be considered. Death is really interesting. I have to mention death. It's very surreal looking. There does appear to be a vulture in it. Is that a vulture on the fence, which is interesting. You've got an ankh pinned to the fence, which is another piece of symbolism that's very interesting. You can actually see Saturn in the sky, which is really interesting, as well as the moon. So that's something to look at. You've got these very surreal looking giant purple orange sunflowers that are grinning inanely, and you have the figure of death represented as a skeleton putting a watering can on these big chunky acid induced pumpkins. I mean, I love this. This is an amazing death card. As somebody who does pay very close attention to the death card and what's going on with the death card, couldn't get much better as far as I'm concerned. I'm really happy with that depiction. I do like the fact that Temperance is a very busy, very productive witch with an open sort of spell book and spell ingredients all over the shelves, including tomb dust on the top shelf, which is really cool. And again, you've got something pinned to the wall. In this case, it's an eye, which is exciting to see. I really like the fact that there's a little creature in her pocket, and she's actually cooking up a spell. She's got the cauldron bubbling with the fire underneath. I mean, this is really a very productive witch who is living her truth and walking her talk. And there's definitely something going on here that is very Temperance-like in terms of the spell being created, the alchemy happening, the transformation, the blending and refining of different ingredients. I really like the fact that there is an owl propped onto her conical hat, overseeing things, which is a representation of the witch's wisdom. I love that. Love, love, love all of this. This couldn't be better for me. I'm really enjoying that. The devil is a funny little card. There is so much that I could say about that. It's actually very similar to the witch in Temperance in the sense that the devil seems to have her own sort of ends. She's in her yard. She's got her skulls and her books and her spell stuff on the shelves. So this is where she resides. She's got an upside down pentacle, which is cool. She has some funny little creatures that are under her control, which she appears to be somewhat tormenting or dominating. There's something to this card that I can't quite put my finger on that I really enjoy, or a number of things that I really enjoy. I'd have to sort of lean into it a bit more in a way that I don't have time to just at the moment. But I definitely think it looks like the opposite of the Temperance card, which is really interesting. And I like the fact that the creatures that she's got on leads that are under her control are not representative of a man and a woman that are also having a connection with each other. It's different. It's like she's got these little minions that are under her control. So it could be more to do with people being sheep and not having their own ideas, or people wanting to follow along in a gaggle or a crowd as opposed to embracing their own individual way of seeing things, or whatever the case might be. Not that there aren't some very good aspects of being in a crowd and being in a group and organising in a group, but there's certainly some shadows to it as well. I have been thinking about gargoyles quite a lot lately, and so I very much enjoy the depiction of the star card, which is seen very much from the point of view of where the gargoyle is affixed to the building. So you see in the background some houses and the church clock and the beautiful great big star in the background with the other stars studded around in the mountain, but you're very, very close to where the gargoyle is actually placed, and you feel like you're actually outside sitting on the roof with the cat. So I really enjoy that depiction, and I just think it's interesting that a gargoyle has been chosen to come into the foreground of the star card. There's something about that that I really enjoy. The moon as a werewolf is obviously a very clever thing. The moon in this card is actually so big that I almost mistook it for the sky in the daytime. I was like, where's the moon? There should be a moon in the moon card. And then I was like, oh, the moon is absolutely fucking gigantic. I like the fact that the black cat looks annoyed by the transformation of this guy into a werewolf, and you've got a skull affixed to the fence there and the pumpkin below. Also, they are both very concerned by the transformation of this guy into a werewolf. But you've got the little French bulldog down there as well, who presumably is, you know, the owner. It's his owner that's turning into a werewolf, and he also looks quite concerned and a little bit forlorn. So that kind of makes me sad. This is a really interesting depiction of the moon. Again, there's lots to work on and think about there. So we go into the suit of pumpkins, which is representative of the suit of pentacles. Ace of pumpkins is just amazing. You've got very much that Halloween vibe. You've got the lilies, which are representative of death, which I love, and that pitch black night sky with the stars. But then you've got that trick or treat Halloween pumpkin and some of the classic Halloween sweets or candy. So I'm very much a fan of that. I really love that strong Halloween imagery coming through there. Five of pumpkins represents a couple of trick-or-treaters who are going past the stained glass window, which has been replaced in this imagery with the pumpkins and the bat, which is awesome. And the trick-or-treaters have dropped their bag of candy and they're walking on without it. It's almost as though the trick-or-treater in the front hasn't really noticed that the one in the back has lost their bag of goodies. And so that's a really good reimagining of Five of Pentacles, I think. Six of Pumpkins, again, we've got another trick-or-treat image, this time a green-haired witch handing out sweets, which is really awesome to see. Lots of pumpkin imagery. This is very gorgeous. I love the way the witch looks, and I love the outfits of the trick-or-treaters as well. I love Nine of Pumpkins, this reimagining of Nine of Pentacles into this Halloween seasonal imagery. You've got all these giant pumpkins around, and you've got this very kind of sort of retro vibe with the way that the figure from Nine of Pumpkins is dressed up, which I really love. I really love the interaction that she's having with the owl. So yeah, this is really beautiful. This definitely gets my seal of approval. 10 of Pumpkins is a creepy game of pinata happening here. There's something really interesting about this. I like the fact that it appears as though there are steps nailed into the tree that you can go up so you can sit in the tree with the pumpkins. And then you've got this very creepy looking figure controlling the pinata game here for this blindfolded, trick-or-treating, excited, Halloween-fueled child who is trying to get all the sweets out of that pumpkin. Now we're moving on into the suit of ghosts, which is representative of the suit of cups. I really love the way that the Three of Ghosts has the plaited sort of ghostly sheets sort of going down into one. So you've got these three separate ghosts, but actually they're connected together through this plait, which comes down like a root. I really enjoy that imagery. I think there's a lot to be said there about friendship and about the connections between people and about how different personalities fuse into one friendship group and they all bring their own energy and how those energies work together and the entanglements that happen in human relationships. So I definitely think that's a really clever move and a really interesting way of working with the Three of Cups imagery here with Three of Ghosts. There's a gathering going on in the sky in Seven of Ghosts, and if you look at what is actually on the sheets of some of the ghosts, you can see that they are representative of some of the things that you would see in the cups in Seven of Cups. So it is a tribute in a very sort of delicate, subtle way to Seven of Cups in tarot, which I really enjoy. And you've got somebody there kind of looking up at the ghosts and they're holding a black cat. So again, it's sticking with that strong seasonal theme, which I really love. Eight of Ghosts is definitely very haunting and sad. The moon even looks saddened and concerned about what's happening here. One of the ghosts appears to be in the water, either coming up from the water or drowning in the body of water. And all of the ghosts look sad and they're trying to comfort each other. So there's a lot to be said for that energy from Eight of Cups in a traditional deck where you are looking at moving on from something that just hasn't gone right, some kind of tragedy, some kind of loss. And Eight of Ghosts just really sort of gently depicts that, but in a way that still holds on to the pain of that card. So I think it's quite a nice true depiction of that card. I love 10 of Ghosts because you've got this happy Halloween family, creepy family dancing and enjoying themselves, and the ghosts are represented as fairy lights. And as many of you will know, I love me some fucking fairy lights. They are all over my flat. I take them to festivals and put them up in my tent. I take them everywhere. I take them to Airbnbs. Anywhere I am, I want some fairy lights. So I definitely really enjoy 10 of Ghosts. I love Page of Ghosts. You've got here a sealed letter on the floor, which I find a really exciting part of Page of Ghosts. And then you've got the skeleton fish jumping out, having a chat with the page who is dressed up as a ghost, but he has removed his mask. So he's having a more honest and gentle interaction with this skeleton fish. So definitely love that. Now we're moving into the suit of bats, which is representative of the energies and themes of the suit of swords. I very much enjoy Two of Bats. You've got here the two bats kind of advising on either side of this angel being. I really like the fact that this being is an angel in the Halloween tarot. That is definitely doing something for me, so I can't complain about that. And then moving on to Three of Bats, being somebody who hugely loves Three of Swords and has a very close relationship with Three of Swords, I would say that I'm not in any way disappointed by Three of Bats. I really love these bats surrounding the heart, and I like the fact that one of them is trying to take a bite out of the heart. You've got this wet, miserable looking black cat down below whose fur is all sort of scuffed up from the rain, and a violent thunderstorm overhead, as we would predict for Three of Swords. So Three of Bats is definitely not a bad interpretation. Five of Bats, here we've got a bunch of trick-or-treaters, and one of them has stolen all of the treats, all of the bags of candy. What a bastard. Not impressed with him at all. Very interesting reimagining of Five of Swords energy there with Five of Bats. Again, I really can't complain about that. That's really cool. Moving on to the suit of Imps, which is representative of the suit of Wands. Straight away with Ace of Imps, you can tell that these guys are going to be trouble. That they are going to be mischievous, and that there is definitely an element of kind of raw energy here that can be exciting but also needs to be have discipline and structure applied to it. So I very much enjoy the way we're coming into this. And then as you move on into Two of Imps, you can see these two imps trying to have a fight with each other, and this kind of father-like figure standing over, trying to get them both to see the error of their ways and come to some sort of negotiation between them. So I do think that that plays nicely into what would normally be the energy of Two of Wands. Definitely, I really like that. Six of Imps appears to show these imps kind of getting along with each other. They're having quite a nice time. They're having an adventure on their horse. One of them is holding onto a black cat and kind of giving the black cat some love. And they all seem to be supporting each other here and having a nice time. So that's a different kind of energy coming through for them. Oh my God, I love Eight of Imps. I love all of this sort of sky action that's happening, this great big piece of black sky with all of these imps holding arrows and definitely sort of preparing to make some mischief happen, basically. I really like that. Honey bunnies, I'm really happy with the Halloween deck. I'm so happy that I made this purchase. I'm very excited to get started with using it for clients. Thank you for coming with me while I gave you some of my impressions of this deck. I really had a good time. So much love and seasonal spooky vibes. Mwah. Blessed be. And don't forget, if you want to grab a Halloween or Samhain reading, I'll leave the options down below, baby cakes. Until next time.